What's going on, guys? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, back with Road Signs, and this is my pre-Royal Rumble Q&A. First of all, first and foremost, thank you to everybody that submitted questions. When I asked for questions, I said I will do the Q&A as long as there's more than 5, because I tried to do one last year, and I didn't really get much of a response, so I figured less than 5 wouldn't be much of a Q&A. There's a little over 40 that we're going to try and do in this video. A lot of my mainstays as far as watchers and viewers and such and so forth have submitted multiple questions. Fantastic, keeping the conversation going, as I always say. I'm breaking a promise a little bit. I'm doing this on Friday. It turns out I'm going to be busy elsewhere Saturday. This will still go up Saturday, but if on the odd chance that somebody throws up a question Friday night, or Saturday morning thinking I was going to do it Saturday, sorry, it's going to get missed, and if it's still relevant in a month or 2 months, I'll throw it onto the next Q&A. How does that sound? Alright, let's get started. U.S. Hardy says, do you think the younger, less established talents should fight for the world title at the Royal Rumble, since the Royal Rumble match itself sells the pay-per-view? It's an interesting one, because what you're kind of saying here is give somebody who wouldn't normally have a title shot because the title match at WrestleMania doesn't really matter. It does a great thing in one respect, is it's sort of a testing ground, a proving ground to see how that person would do in an actual title situation where they're actually going to win the championship. But at the same time, we would develop a trend of you know, the world title at Royal Rumble just doesn't matter. So-and-so getting his first ever title shot, you know, well, he's not going to win. I think I understand what you're saying. I don't think it would do what this question is presuming that it would do. The idea being, hey, use it as a jumpstart for the year, use it as a jumpstart for some talent that's never really been in the title picture before. But if people already have that preconceived notion that it's going nowhere, they won't get invested, and that's unfortunate. I think, on the whole, they need to be giving more people title shots and not, you know, strictly keeping to, you know, the John Cenas and the Sheamuses and the Big Shows and the whoever else. But that's just me. That's where we get... Similar situation would be when you throw somebody like Kofi Kingston and R-Truth into an Elimination Chamber match for a title. You know they're not going to win, so they just look like filler. So you almost, even if you're a fan of Kofi Kingston, you might even resent him being there because he's there supposedly giving the idea that he has a shot at winning when we all know he has no chance. And in Kofi's case, that's probably a good thing, isn't it? But other guys... Cody Rhodes is the prime example. Go back to my video that I did 2 nights ago about who I think should win the Rumble. Cody Rhodes is definitely on the list. So yeah, it's a tricky one, because I know what you want it to do, and I agree with what you want it to do, but I don't think it would do what you or I or the people in the YWC would want it to do. I think it would make the match seem like more of a bookmark, more of a placeholder than it already actually does. Because as you say in your question, the Royal Rumble does sell the pay-per-view, which is why the Royal Rumble pay-per-views where the Royal Rumble match hasn't main evented have come off really anticlimactic at the end. Have they not? Thanks for the question. Danny the Metalhead has 2 questions. Which legends or WWE alumni will be surprise entrants in the Royal Rumble this year? It's awkward to say, because there's not just current guys and legends, there's that whole part-timer realm, isn't there? We've already got Batista coming back from that part-time realm. I don't know if Brock Lesnar, after his match with the Big Show, is going to have an actual impact on the Rumble. You've always got Jericho as a possibility if he's not doing anything with Fozzy. I don't know, Ricky Steamboat seems to show up every now and then. After Raw, a lot of people are saying Jake the Snake Roberts, although I don't know whether that would be a good idea or not. Diamond Dallas Page could come in and make a showing for a couple of minutes, couldn't he? Booker T could always do that. I mean, I don't want them to do that gimmick that they did a couple of years ago where all the announcers were involved in the Rumble, because that was lame. But if Booker T came back, if... who else? If they did something absolutely monstrous, like Sting shows up for one night to spend a couple minutes in the Rumble and gets eliminated, that would be a bit ridiculous. Ric Flair's always kicking around. Dusty Rhodes could, you know, show up as the third Rhodes in the Rumble. there's a lot of rumors of who's coming back. The rumors that Sheamus is coming back, rumors that Christian is coming back, rumors that Evan Bourne is coming back, which I would actually legitimately be intrigued about. But I don't know. I don't really want to see a bunch of old guys. The one thing I will say, and it's not exactly going along with your question here, we've gotten in the habit the past couple of years of one diva or one women's wrestler making a showing in the Rumble. And while a lot of people would say, hey, give that spot to Natalya, she hasn't done anything in a while, no. That spot has to go to AJ Lee's bodyguard, Tamina. If Tamina gets in there and even for a couple of seconds, you know, throws somebody around. If Tamina comes into the Rumble and throws out Kofi Kingston, I will be a happy kid. Moving on. I'm not going to answer fuck one, kill one, marry one, Beth Phoenix, Karma, Lady Tapa. That's... I'm not going to do that. Just because I'm not going to do that. But thank you for your other question, and it spurned off into a little ramble of mine, as tends to happen on this channel. The Poseidon Trident Tim Morris says, who are your top 5 dark horses as of right now? Now, I assume he means the Rumble. So what I'm going to say, Seth Rollins, dark horse. Kofi Kingston, I guess, dark horse. Cody Rhodes, dark horse. Bray Wyatt, dark horse. Oh, I had another answer for this. It just fell right out of my head. Oh, Jeff Hardy, dark horse. Jeff Hardy comes back. Oh, that's right. That's what I was going to say. Surprise entrance in the Rumble from the last question that was just asked. Jeff Hardy or John Morrison would be really cool, because they'd have some cool, not only some cool exit spots, but they'd go in there and bump their asses off and be another Dolph Ziggler, would they not? Okay, thank you for that. Tim Morris. I never know how to pronounce this. I think it's Cheney815. Has given me 10 questions, so I'm going to try and fire through these. Do you think the Royal Rumble should, at least every 2 or 3 years or so, feature non-Rumble winners only? Yes. So that we don't end up with a Royal Rumble like we got last year, or the year before, was it, where the last 3 people in it are Sheamus, John Cena, somebody else, and Ryback. Because nobody will care. Should Money in the Bank match feature only wrestlers who have never won the World Championship? Absolutely. The Money in the Bank match, in my opinion, should be used to catapult people to that next level. It shouldn't be watered down and or filled with people that are already at that level that just don't have anything to do that month. It ruins the concept, and it ruins the advantage, and it ruins the positive element, I will say, of the Money in the Bank concept. Do you play any WWE video games, and if so, what are your top 3 favorites? I don't have favorites. I got... What do I have over there? SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, 2007, 2011, All-Stars, WWE 12, WWE 13, and WWE 14. Now, when I had the old cartridge systems, I did have WCW and NWO Revenge, and I did have No Mercy, and they are a lot of fun. If I can find them, I don't know where they are. I don't know if I still have them. But the old school games are fun because they have that arcade feel. Now it's just... Wrestling games today are all about what you can create as much as they are about the matches themselves. These days, they're all about what have they added to the game this year. Oh, this year we can break the ring. This year I can put somebody through a table. This year I can put somebody through the barricade. This year, when I put somebody through a table, I can set the table on fire. This year, oh, I like the beat the clock matches. This year they've added a beat the clock thing. What I do like, though, for the most part, especially with the THQ and now, guys, my chair's doing a funny thing again. Sorry about that. What THQ started doing and what 2K Sports has fortunately carried on is that the control settings haven't changed that much. The jump from 2006, 2007 to 2011 for me was they completely rearranged how all the controls worked. So anybody that got really good at the last games were back to 0 again. It wasn't a case of could you out wrestle the other people in the game. It was do you remember how to wrestle, almost, and that wasn't a good thing. So the games have always gotten gradually better since they stopped calling them thoughts are falling out of my head. Since they stopped calling them SmackDown vs. Raw and just started calling them WWE in a number, the last 3 games, I'm going to say, are the best, because they've just gotten gradually better, and they haven't really stumbled very much. I'm halfway through the 30 years of WrestleMania mode. I've done the whole Undertaker defend the streak or beat the streak thing. It's a lot of fun, and I'm having enough fun with the current one, with what's there already, that I haven't even started creating character. I mean, I've created myself, and that's about it. Do you consider the Ruthless Aggression era underrated, considering how much praise the Attitude Era gets? The Attitude Era gets praise from people that watched it the same way anybody that watched any era at the age that we were when we watched the Attitude Era will look back on it. Because the younger you are, the easier you are to impress. So everything was awesome when you were a kid. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that, you know, the censorship and the watering down and the, you know, lack of blood, lack of being able to do hardcore stuff and all that isn't great. But there's better wrestlers for the most part now than there were back then. There's just less of the other awesome shit. You know, you don't have Sable coming out with hands painted on her tits. You don't have people, you know, getting torn open with barbed wire every single night. You don't have the steel cage at every Raw. And it's okay, but all that stuff, the Attitude Era is like Howard Stern in wrestling form, because everything was for shock and awe, and everything was for pop value, and everything was what got everybody talking at the water cooler the next day, and everything had to beat the next. And I mean, let's be real. People don't like to say this, people don't like to admit it, and whatever. The Attitude Era existed, for the most part, if you know your history, because of WCW. WWE is allowed to take back that pop value, take back that shock and awe value, and just give us straight up legit wrestling with a little less window dressing, because they don't really have competition. And if somebody out there says TNA, I'm going to laugh at you and not going to be able to finish this video. How would you rebook WWE's pay-per-view lineup? Most people don't agree, but I would bring back King of the Ring. I would give King of the Ring more prestige and tie it in with SummerSlam. I would tie King of the Ring to SummerSlam the way the Royal Rumble is tied to WrestleMania. I would have the King of the Ring be the designated #1 contender at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam, because people always complain that, yes, King of the Ring is a cool thing, you're the King of the Ring for the rest of the year, but it doesn't really mean anything. If it means you get to have a title shot at another Big Four pay-per-view, it would mean something. And I like the whole tournament thing. I like seeing a story in a night. If there's a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and a final in one pay-per-view, and you're following this one person's journey over the course of one night through 3 different matches, it's different than watching 8 different matches, because you're watching a continuous story and you're watching people fall by the wayside as they go. Anybody who, like me, who's a fan of The Walking Dead, knows what it's like to stick with the people that succeed and survive, and either celebrate or mourn when some of the other characters don't make it or fall by the wayside. And that's... I might be being a little too metaphorical here, but that's what watching King of the Ring was like, especially when it was in its heyday. And, you know, anybody that wants to say, you know, King of the Ring never created any big superstars, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I would take out the gimmick pay-per-views. Things like Hell in a Cell, things like TLC, things like what else? Extreme Rules, whatever. Those matches should come along when a rivalry has gotten to that point, when a rivalry has gotten that violent, when a rivalry needs to be contained if it's a cage match, when a rivalry has gotten to the point where only one person can walk away at the end. That's when you put a stipulation like these stipulations on a match. Not because it's this month, and this month this is the theme of the month, so we have to jam people and, like, peg book people into these matches because that's what pay-per-view it is. That's never ever made any sense to me. The Royal Rumble is an exception, obviously, because it's a once-a-year thing, and Survivor Series is a once-a-year thing. But a ladder match doesn't just happen at TLC. A ladder match happens at TLC, a ladder match happens at Money in the Bank, and a ladder match can potentially happen on Raw, SmackDown, or Extreme Rules. or any other pay-per-view. Let's talk about one of the better Hardy Boys matches, is Matt versus Jeff at WrestleMania, where it's not even really a ladder match, but it becomes one because of the hardcore aspect of it. So yeah, bring back King of the Ring and get rid of the themed pay-per-views. And stop treating... I know you have to make the large... I'm going to see if I can say this without sounding like a grade A moron. I know you have to make the Big Four pay-per-views feel like Big Four pay-per-views, but stop making them feel big by making the other ones look shitty by comparison. I'm just saying. If there was no financial bullshit, how would you have rebooked TNA's pay-per-view lineup? Guys, nothing's going to save TNA, and it's not... Trying to convince us that two regular-ass episodes of Impact are a pay-per-view experience is garbage, especially when the first half is just all storyline skits and garbage building to the next week. The fact that you can't afford to put on pay-per-views when pay-per-views are usually the largest source of revenue for a wrestling company other than merch, they're going down the toilet, and nothing's going to save them, including their pay-per-view scheme. Should WWE bring back Saturday night's main event? No, because Saturday night's main event became main event, and it's on Wednesdays now. WWE, for as much as people complain that WWE doesn't give them anything new, think about this for a second. 3 hours on Raw, plus main event, Superstars, NXT, SmackDown. That's 10 hours of wrestling right there. Throw on a pay-per-view at the end of the month. That's roughly 43, 44 hours of wrestling that they have to produce. WWE, another great thing about the Attitude Era is, you know, things never got stale in the Attitude Era because they were producing 2 hours of wrestling a week, not 10. They were producing 8 hours of wrestling a month, maybe plus a pay-per-view to make it 10 hours a month. They've gone, there it is right there, guys. They've gone from producing 10 hours of wrestling a month to 10 hours of wrestling a week. Unless you want a gargantuan giant roster with 20 titles, you're not going to be able to avoid things being repetitive. You're not going to be able to avoid matches happening again and again in the same combinations of people having matches because there's only so many combinations you can do. So no, I don't think they need to add any more shows. I do think they need to bring back the Cruiserweight division, but that's another story for another video. Should WWE have more aggressive theme songs in their pay-per-views? Yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. WWE, I know they're trying to be PG, I know they're trying to appeal to the kids and, you know, the pop culture and all that other bullshit, but WWE needs to have rock and roll music. Rock and roll music fits a fight. Pop music doesn't. I'm just saying. Rap doesn't. Stupid electronica Mark Pearson style bullshit doesn't. Just saying, rock needs to accompany wrestling. They knew this back in the 80s, back in the 70s, whenever rock and wrestling was a thing. They need to reach out, and they have done it. I mean, they've gone to very, very mainstream rock bands and gotten them involved. I mean, they had Limp Bizkit back in the day. They've used Korn recently. They've used Kid Rock. They've used Nickelback, which, you know, I could take or leave. They used Metallica for one of the Undertaker matches while they were introducing Undertaker to the ring or whatever the hell they did. And that's good. That gets everybody going. It's not just a polite little dance party. No, everybody's getting hyped up. Everybody's getting aggressive. Everybody wants to mosh in the seats because the guys in the ring want to mosh each other's heads in. It makes so much more sense. Do you think SmackDown should return to Thursday nights once TNA kicks off? I don't think TNA has a factor in whether SmackDown should be back on Thursday nights. SmackDown should be on Thursdays for a lot of reasons. Very few people want to sit at home on a Friday night and watch wrestling, especially when they've probably read the spoilers early in the week. Put it back on Thursday, put TNA to bed, have it live on Thursday where there's no spoilers, treat it like an equal show to Raw and not just the Raw replay. SmackDown could be great. Again, SmackDown could be Chapter 2 of Raw rather than being the Fallout show, if that makes any sense at all. If you had to choose between the Owen Hart and the Benoit tragedies, which one would you prevent? Oh, that's... That's a very heartstring question, and I'm going to answer it very simply. I'm not saying anything bad about Owen Hart. I'm not saying anything bad about Chris Benoit. I would have prevented the Chris Benoit tragedy only because he took other people with him. And that's my only basis for that. Not to say that Owen Hart's death wasn't completely tragic and didn't, you know, affect his family, the wrestling world, the fan base, and all that sort of thing. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, Chris Benoit took other people with him, and that's why his is the one I would prevent. Thank you for reading. Thank you for answering. Thank you for asking all those questions, man. That's great. To get 10 questions from one person is a fantastic. What do you want to call it? It's just fantastic. It's not a fantastic something. It's just fantastic. So thank you for that, Sam. I want to see either Pyboon or Piboon or... Anyways, guys, I mispronounce names and I fuck up names all the time, and I should have apologized in advance for that, but anybody that's been watching this channel for a long time already knows that. Why don't you like the WWE Network? I don't... It's not that I don't like the WWE Network, there's nothing drawing me to it, really. Fucking hell. Guys, anybody that wants to... I'm not going to sit here and eBay. I'm not going to be spinnernet like that. But anybody that wants to send me a couple bucks for a new fucking chair that doesn't keep collapsing on me would be fantastic. I don't dislike the network. I don't disagree with anybody that wants to get the network. My problem is when people start selling it to me based on the libraries. I like the Attitude Era, like I said. I can't watch old wrestling and get excited about it as much as I want to, because we're not in that moment anymore. The only reason wrestling any day, whether it's 20 years ago or whether it's today, is as great as it is because as a fan, we're living in that moment. We have a conscious running account of what's currently going on and why people are pissed off and what's happened and what they think is going to happen and what we want to happen. So we watch it in a very much in the moment mentality. Now, I can go back and watch a match and decide whether it's good or bad, but I'm not emotionally invested in it because it's, you know, you're looking at it through a looking glass. You're looking at it like watching an old movie. So that really doesn't draw anything for me. They're going to do all kinds of additional content. I don't want to see the reality TV show bullshit. I really don't. You know, old WrestleManias, we're going to see old people getting interviewed about old WrestleManias. No, like, get those same people and get them to comment on the current product. They could do it. They're intelligent enough. You got guys like Piper and Flair and Steamboat and Dusty Rhodes and all that talking about themselves doesn't help the current product. Get those guys to talk about what's going on in wrestling now. That I would watch. I'm not watching the friggin' what the hell is it called? Legends House? It's gonna be garbage. It's gonna be worse than Total Divas, which I only ever watched like twice. And there's gonna be all this additional content before show, after show, da-da-da-da. Here's a hint, guys. You want a Raw after show, you want a SmackDown after show, you want an NXT after show, you want a pay-per-view after show, it's right here. This is why we do what we do. When I found out that they were doing an after show, it kind of, and I know this is going to sound butthurt, guys, but it kind of pissed me off, is because WWE is trying to do for us what we do right here. What I've been doing for 4 years now. What you guys have been doing, some of you, for a lot longer than me. What guys like me, and James, and Kara, and Angela, and Regina, and Nutty Rock Chick, and Deluxe Man, and Preston, and, you know, everybody have been doing since we got on here. WWE is trying to take that from us. And it's almost as if WWE wants to react for us and even further instill in us the way we want us to react to their product, which I'm not entirely a fan of. And just extra content. Like I just said in the previous question, WWE gives us, if we want it, if we want to choose to watch it or download it or stream it or whatever, about 10 hours of wrestling content in the current time a week. And that's not including pay-per-views. And I'm sorry, guys, I work full-time. I'm out of town quite a bit. I, you know, do concerts, hang out with friends, and every other damn thing. It's January, and I'm already planning shit for the Toronto Zombie Walk in October with friends of mine. I don't have 10 hours to dedicate to wrestling a week, let alone to get a whole network that's going to be 24/7. No. And honestly, as much as people are going to say this is bullshit, you know, oh, you're going to get the pay-per-views for $10 a month. I like watching wrestling. If I like watching wrestling pay-per-views. If it's a good pay-per-view, I don't mind paying the money. If it's a shit pay-per-view, then the fact that I paid the money is what gives me the right to come up here and bitch more than the people that stream it and still bitch as if they did pay for it. So it's not that I hate the network. I can see why some people are intrigued. Historians are going to love it. People that don't work, no offense to anybody out there. I know there's people that aren't able to work, whatever. A lot of people don't work for a lot of different reasons. So people that aren't working or aren't in school and have a lot more time to kill are going to love it. Historians are going to love it. People that do nostalgia reviews, like my buddies Alex and Preston, will love this, because instead of looking for a shitty copy of something on YouTube, they can go to the on-demand feature, and I get that. I'm just not looking for the same thing from the WWE that a lot of other people are. I want to live very in the moment, and let's face it, anything of any real importance is going to happen on Raw or at a pay-per-view, which I'm already doing, and Raw is already free. That's it, guys. Like I say, I'm not shitting in anybody's cornflakes. If you want to go get the network, awesome. If you want to come back to me after you've ordered the network and tell me how awesome it is, good for you. If you see something on the network that you think I will genuinely enjoy, or you think that there's something that's absolutely going to change my mind on it, absolutely come and have a conversation with me. My Skype, my Twitter, my Facebook are all down in the box below. I want to talk to you guys, so talk to me about it. Talk to me what you saw on the network last night. What retro pay-per-view did you watch? What, AWA show from the 80s that nobody's ever heard of did you see and you think it's just a diamond in the rough that everybody should see? Do it. The network is going to give you the opportunity to do that. I'm not personally driven to do stuff like that. Is that a fair enough answer? I hope so, because it's all I got. Laurel Lewis, which is another very, very common name in my comment section, and thank you very much for that, is giving me 5 questions. Dream WrestleMania 30 card. I've done one. Go back in my videos. It's there. I'm just not. I did some fantasy booking 2 nights ago for who I think should have the titles. I'm going to be doing fantasy booking in the future, similar to the title video, top 5 people that I think should be going for the streak and how I would book that, but those will be done probably after the Rumble. Or, sorry, definitely after the Rumble. Sorry, probably closer to the Elimination Chamber. Who do you think will be the star of the Royal Rumble? Not win, but have the greatest showing. I'm really struggling to come up with another name other than Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, when his time comes, is going to enter the ring and obliterate whoever's in front of him. He just is. He's going to be that guy. He's going to be that guy that comes in and wrecks shop, and everybody's going to be laying for a while, and he's going to have that, lion on top of the mountain moment. He won't win. He's not going to WrestleMania to face John Cena for the title, for sure, but he's going to have that moment. He's going to be the guy that'll stare down Big E Langston. He's going to be the guy that'll stare down Ryback. He'll stare down Batista, perhaps. He'll stare down Lesnar if Lesnar's in the Rumble match. He'll stare down the Big Show if the Big Show is in the match. He'll do those types of things. He'll do the things that make us ooh and ah, and he'll do everything that makes the smaller guys look like they've been absolutely broken in half. Roman Reigns, I'm calling it right now, is going to be the MVP of this year's Rumble, and he's going to beat Kane's elimination record. That's another thing I'm predicting, especially now with corporate Kane in the suit. And who do you think would be the best person to take the Divas title off of AJ Lee? Choose one NXT Diva and one current roster Diva. Oh. Why did you say one current roster diva? The only one I want to see take the title potentially off AJ Lee just got released, and that was Caitlyn. So that's still going to be my answer. From NXT, it's got to be Paige. It just does. I want to see Paige versus AJ. I want to see Crazy Chick versus Crazy Chick. And when Paige comes up to the roster, in general, I want her to dominate. In general, I want her to come and absolutely blow smoke up everybody's ass. And if that happens, I hate to say this, but if that happens at the cost of AJ Lee, I'm almost willing to take it at this point. Do you think Sting will ever go to the WWE? Do you really want Sting in the WWE? Think about it. I know, and I made an entire video about this last year sometime, I'm sure of it. I know what it's like. I know what it was like seeing Sting in his heyday, Undertaker in his heyday, in their separate realms in WCW, WWE, Bubble and Bubble, And everybody and their mother, because of how similar the characters were, we wanted to see Sting versus Undertaker. And back then, in our young minds, we took a picture in our heads of what that match would look like. And we've carried that picture with us ever since. I hate to tell you guys, in 2014, Mark Calloway and Steve Borden are not those same guys. If you hold that picture up to what we get, if these guys are ever actually in the same ring together, you're gonna cry. Because it's going to be sad. And I hate to say that. I respect the hell out of both guys, but it's not going to be what we want it to be. And that's just the way it is. Do you think TNA will be around in 2015? I don't think TNA is going to survive the next couple of months of 2014, to be completely honest with you. Thank you for that. I think the rest of them are all singles. How do you think Brian's concussion will hurt the Royal Rumble? Well, he's got a match with Bray Wyatt instead of being in the Rumble. So, 2 days early, I'm predicting everybody and their mother, you know, the internet, alive. The Rumble sucked because Daniel Bryan didn't win. That's how it's going to affect. It's not going to affect it for me, because Daniel Bryan's going to have an awesome match with Bray Wyatt, and that's how it should be. If he's not physically capable of being in the Rumble and performing to the highest degree that he would like to perform at, and winning the Rumble at the level that he would like to be at, and finishing off this rivalry with the Wyatts is what he's going to do instead, because that is what he can do, and that is what he can do to his full potential, I would rather see that. I would rather see a good Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt match than a lackluster Daniel Bryan performance in the Rumble. And everybody's going, oh my god, he's Daniel Bryan, he can't be lackluster. If he gets his bell wrong, you're damn right he will be. That's it. It's going to affect the Rumble in the sense that 99% of the wrestling world is going to be butthurt while I'm going to watch the Rumble and see what happens. Deluxe Man. Alex. One of the historians in my little social circle of wrestling friends who can tell you this happened on this date, at this event, in this match, with this guy versus this guy, and this guy had a bologna sandwich before the match. I can't do that. He asks me, out of all the Royal Rumbles, which ones are some of your favorites? I'm not going to exactly answer that because I would have to go back and watch them all again. And side note, on Wrestling Paradise, Alex and Preston's channel, they recently have reviewed all the Royal Rumbles. It's really cool. They got it short, sweet, and to the point. I encourage everybody, if you're not already subscribed to Wrestling Paradise, go check out Alex and Preston. They've done a really good job with that. I haven't done that. So I'm going to say what sticks out in my mind as a Royal Rumble right now, and nobody's going to agree with me, but it's the 40-man Rumble a couple years ago when Alberto Del Rio won. Sticks out in my mind for a couple of reasons. Because A, I'm a fan of Alberto Del Rio, and he won, and it's awesome. Not only that, but he went off and had an awesome match with Edge at WrestleMania that ended up being Edge's last match, so that in itself is memorable. I remember, you know, kind of thinking it was disgusting that we had the little scare moment at the end with Santino Marella. What I liked at the beginning, and I'm hoping I've got my year right. I'm hoping that I'm right when I say this is the year that we had the Nexus and the Core. When we started the match, with the first two people coming down the ramp, and it ended up being a brawl between the Nexus and the Core that had to be broken up before the match could even be started. That's a moment. No, the Nexus sucked. And the Core sucked, but to have that as the starting of a Rumble was a memorable moment. And that story of those two groups going at each other was sustained, sorry guys, throughout the whole Rumble. And I like seeing shit like that because, and nobody's going to like this comparison either, it brought me back to the days of the gang warfare between the Nation of Domination and the DOA and the Los Boricuas, which, unlike Mark Pearson, I can actually pronounce. Moving on. So that's, Alex, that's the best answer you're going to get out of me. Best Rumble? Like, subjective beyond belief. Dave Thompson, do you ever see Dolph Ziggler fulfilling his full potential? He's had 2 major injuries over a short period of time that has halted his big push for... wow. I read that completely wrong. Have the 2 major injuries that he sustained in the short period of time halted his big push for good, or can he claw his way back to the World Heavyweight Championship? Sure he can. Come back in the Rumble. Win it. If you don't win the Rumble, have a decent opponent at WrestleMania that's not... and don't get buried in a... 10-on-10 tag match or a stupid Divas match with fucking Snooki. Stop booking him to work with dangerous people like friggin' Swagger and Ryback. Basically realize that Dolph Ziggler's awesome, and he's awesome in his own right, not just as a tool to make other people look good. Give him a title match or give him a title reign that lasts more than a day. It's a lot less likely now with there being one world title and with, you know, all the cocksuckers fighting over the main title right now. But what it does mean is the Intercontinental Championship means a lot more. So Dolph Ziggler could have a long and sustained, meaningful Intercontinental Championship run, and it would mean a lot more than it would have last year. They can do a lot of things with Dolph Ziggler, and they know they can do a lot of things with Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is the one they stick Fandango with when Fandango needs to look good. It's the one they stick Brodus Clay with when Brodus Clay needs to look good. Who else? Ziggler makes Sheamus look good. Ziggler makes John Cena look good. Ziggler had as okay a match as you can possibly have with the Great Khali. Ziggler is the Shawn Michaels. He has that broomstick factor. Ziggler could be the champion tomorrow. That's all I got. James Edward Russell, otherwise known as Fear the Spear 1990, who is one of my biggest supporters on this channel, who's one of my biggest supporters in the wrestling realm, which you guys all need to join on Facebook, and probably one of the biggest John Cena fans you're ever going to meet. Oh yes. If you were booking Cena versus Hogan, because Hogan's been working crazy in the gym, how would you book Hogan to put Cena over? Not as a passing of the torch, but in just another monster match to show how well Cena can perform on the WrestleMania stage. Current Cena versus Hogan in his physical prime could be the most win ever at WrestleMania. We're not going to get Hogan in his prime. Hogan hasn't had a prime in ages. The guy's had 9 back surgeries. He had one match in TNA where he basically wasn't allowed to fall down. I don't have enough time in this video to describe why I don't want to see Cena versus Hogan. Hogan's a name. Hogan's not a person anymore. Hogan is an idea. Hogan is an entity. And Cena could get the same notoriety from having a finger poke of doom moment with Hogan as he could with having the really, really shitty match that I'm sure would proceed to happen if this was ever actually booked. Please don't tell me that the WWE writers are on that many drugs that we're actually going to get this, but whatever. With Sting possibly losing to Magnus, we could finally get Sting versus Taker at WrestleMania. I've already discussed that too. I don't want to see it. The 733-ism. If Giant Gonzalez didn't interfere in the Royal Rumble in 1993, would Undertaker have won the 1993 Royal Rumble? Simple answer to that, he would have won if that's what the writers wrote. I don't know what else to say. If they didn't write it this way, they would have written it another way. Would they have written it that way? I don't know, because they wrote it this way. I hate to sound like a smartass, but that is my answer to that one. Logan Claiborne. I'm a big, huge CM Punk fan. When do you believe is the best time for Punk to be reinserted back into the WWE World Title picture? Also, what are your opinions on each member of the Shield and where should they be in 2 years? Punk needs to win the Rumble. Punk needs to regain the title at WrestleMania, hopefully from John Cena. And I'm not saying that spitefully. If you go back one video, I've explained why I want to see Punk versus Cena at WrestleMania. Because it's not about Punk necessarily, it's not about Cena necessarily, it's not about the title necessarily, but that match as a whole. Punk, Cena, and the title deserves to happen at WrestleMania at least once. And I want Punk to win, obviously, because I don't like Cena. Moving on. Where should the Shield be in 2 years? Let's see. Rollins should be a strong Intercontinental Champion. Ambrose could potentially be the World Champion. Reigns, although WWE is booking it the way that Reigns is going to be the champion because he's built like The Rock. Reigns, I would have had a couple minor shots at the world title yet and not quite gotten it. Ambrose would have had the title by now by scheming means and by being a ridiculous heel. That's that. Thank you for that, Logan Claiborne. James, again, talking about Sting versus Taker again, which I've already answered. And could we see the match that we saw teased years ago between Goldberg and Stone Cold? There's 2 problems with that. Austin isn't in the physical shape to be putting on the match as epic as you'd like it to be, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to get the money that he wants, because one of the things he's said in multiple interviews, and I've seen them, is that he will do one more match for the money. So obviously and apparently he either can't yet or he hasn't been offered the money yet. Goldberg, on the other hand, had a really shitty run in WWE, and most of the young fans won't know who he is, and we're getting to the period of time now where if you say, hey, remember Goldberg, that guy from WCW? People are like, what's WCW? So Goldberg wouldn't be relevant, and Stone Cold, for financial or medical or personal reasons, won't do it. So would it be great? I don't know. I really don't know, because I think if you had done it back then, I think Goldberg, if it was anything realistic, would have cut Austin in half. Moving on, and the last question is from, holy crap, how do you pronounce that? Avazilvis. That's how I'm going to pronounce it, because I really don't have a clue. Which talent would you pick from the TNA roster when they inevitably go under? What do you think of Antonio Cesaro? Any thoughts on when he's going to get a proper push, and when is WWE going to stop wasting his talent? Antonio Cesaro is a great physical specimen, and he's had amazing matches. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's pulled off some amazing physical feats. But then again, John Cena's lifted the Big Show up over his head 100 times, and I don't give a shit. My problem with Antonio Cesaro getting a push is, outside of being one of the real Americans, he has no character to speak of, and he has no reason to give a shit. The problem with Antonio Cesaro, before he was in the Real Americans, was his gimmick was the Swiss guy. Whereas you get anybody from anywhere in America, you got Randy Orton, who's the Viper, who wants to be the face of the company, who's a third-generation guy. You got Triple H, who's the, the Greenwich snob turned cerebral assassin, married into power, da-da-da-da. Anybody foreign, oh, they're the Italian guy, they're the Irish guy, they're the Swiss guy, and that's their gimmick, and that's not a gimmick. I don't know enough about Switzerland, other than the fact that one of my best friends now lives there, to care about Antonio Cesaro based on being the Swiss guy. You can put on great matches. I think Preston said it best, you can put on great matches, but if I don't care, I don't care. Great talent. I hope they find him something to do that will make me care. How about that? Is that fair? Which talent would you pick from TNA after they go under? And I love when he puts in inevitably in brackets, because it's going to happen, guys. TNA guys that are grasping to your last straws, the last dwindling threads of the fabric of the TNA flag, it's going to happen. Just saying. Who would I bring over from TNA? Now, I'll get the ex-WWE guys out of the way first. I want Bully Ray back, I want Kurt Angle back, and I want Jeff Hardy back. Big surprise. But who do I want? I want all the TNA mainstays. I want all the TNA strong guys. I want Kaz, Daniels, AJ, even though he's in ROH now. I want Austin Aries. Because they're a great comedy team, I want the Bromans. I'm just putting it out there. I want Storm, I want Rude. I want Gail Kim, I want Mickie James, I want Velvet Sky. I want ODB, because I think ODB would be fantastic in the WWE Divas division. There's a lot of good talent in WWE, or in, Magnus is a goofus. It's sad. I almost want TNA to go under faster, so that those guys that are legitimate talents can be put out of their misery, and the ones that will be picked up by WWE will be picked up by WWE. And if they're not, then something happened. Oh, Samoa Joe, Eric Young. I think that's it. And I think that's it for the Q&A. I'm kind of dragging, I'm kind of stuttering, I'm kind of mumbling, and I'm kind of tripping on my words because I am tired. It's the way it usually... I never do a video during the day. So you get me at my most honest, but you don't necessarily get me at my most awake. Is that fair? I've been Spaz. This has been the Q&A. I am your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing another Q&A before WrestleMania. Put it down in the box below whether you want me to do one before the Elimination Chamber as well. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.
Sunshine, come a freak like me.